In the beginning of the game, Ryu's girlfriend Irene ends up getting killed by what looks to be Ryu himself. It turns out to be someone else or something disguised as Ryu that kills her. Somehow later, the real Ryu finds out about this, and so he goes back to the lab where Irene was last seen, and pledges that he won't rest until he finds out who killed her and framed him for it. Later, Ryu meets this guy named Clancy, and all he does is send Ryu into a bunch of traps. Anyway, he leads Ryu to another guy named Foster, and apparently Clancy and him worked on this project called the Biohazard Project. After the demon was destroyed, I don't know if they're referring to the demon from part 1 or part 2, but anyway, there was an open seam created between the dimensions and an unlimited supply of life energy flowing through the seams inside the ruins of the fortress where the demon died. With that life energy, Foster was able to create these superhumans called Bionoids, and it was a Bionoid that killed Irene. And according to Clancy, it's Foster who's the one controlling the Bionoids. After all that, it turns out Irene is still alive, and Foster's whole plan was to extract life energy from Ryu to create superior Bionoids. But that sadly ends when Clancy comes along and betrays Foster. See, because it turns out that Clancy was using Ryu and Irene the whole time just so he can keep the life energy for himself. What an asshole. Anyway, the life energy portal starts to open and Clancy steps into the portal. But right before he vanishes, Foster tries to run in after him and gets disintegrated by the power of the energy. After that, Ryu goes into the portal after him and tells Irene to stay behind because apparently he's the only one that can go through the portal because he's a ninja. After Ryu goes through the portal, he sees who else? Foster. He was brought back to life by the life energy, but this time he has a whole new body. I guess the life energy transmuted him into some kind of super being. Anyway, Ryu kicks his ass, but by that time, Clancy has already made the life energy his own. And all of a sudden, he has this super dimensional warship to destroy the world, and says that he's going to use the super dimensional ruins to create a whole new world full of Bionoids. Finally, Ryu catches up to Clancy, only to find Clancy in a new disgusting Bionoid body. And this is where it starts to get very interesting. Clancy tries to convince Ryu to join him. He says that he wants to protect the Earth from humans. Humans are weak, disgusting little creatures who love to fight, he says. You know they should be wiped out, don't you? Ryu, join me. I'll even let you bring a perfect human to ride the ship with us. Ryu doesn't end up taking his offer and decides to take him out instead. And after a few cutscenes later, the game finally ends. I'd say the first lesson you learn from the game is the corruption between the two bad guys, Clancy and Foster. Foster's whole intent was to have the life energy for himself and create superior Bionoids to become the ultimate power in the world. Yeah, he was evil, but he wasn't as slimy as Clancy was. Clancy wanted to keep the life energy for himself to destroy all the humans in the world to protect the Earth and create a whole new species because in his view, he thought humans were too violent. Because of this, it makes Clancy 10 times more evil than Foster is, and that's why I think they made him the final boss at the end of the game. The story also shows us Clancy and Foster going after the same thing, power, showing us that evil people are usually the ones who seek it, need it, and they'll do whatever it takes to have it. I think the most important lesson comes at the end of the game when Clancy tries to bribe Ryu to joining him to protect the Earth, and instead of going green, Ryu decides to protect the humans from Clancy. This shows us that we should always take the side of humanity, no matter what the cause is. Also showing us that even if we're offered the world, we should never go against our principles. The last and most important message comes at the very end when Irene tells Ryu, "I'll never understand why people make and pursue evil plans until they wind up dead." And Ryu says, "Humans are always striving to achieve. All creatures living on Earth in all worlds can never just be a part of someone's plans." I think what Ryu is trying to say here is that you should have your own plans. You should be in control of your own life, your own destiny. Only you know what's right, not somebody else. Who would ever think that an NES game could deliver such a meaningful ending like this? I believe it's the first really difficult game I played that had an ending that was worth it. And for this, I think Ninja Gaiden 3 has to have the greatest NES ending of all time.